US presidential candidate Kamala Harris has faced her first TV interview since becoming the Democrat nominee. During the interview, she defended her changing policy position. She sat down for the interview alongside her VP candidate Tim Walz after growing pressure to face the questions.
Harris and Tim Walz take questions in their first big interview
of their campaign.
Major night in American politics.
The headline was that it was happening at all.
Hello.
It was a first TV interview for Kamala Harris in her new role. She rolled up with her running mate.
Please welcome the next President of the United States.
It's been 5 weeks since Joe Biden stepped down. Kamala Harris had done the rallies and party events, but hadn't sat down for a TV interview.
When you were in Chicago,
critics said she was avoiding scrutiny as presidential nominee, a position that came her way in a call.
The phone rang and it was Joe Biden, and he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes.
There were questions for a Democratic candidate who has changed her mind on key election issues, like fracking and decriminalising illegal entry at the US border.
Right.
They feed opposition lines of attack that Kamala Harris lacks authenticity. Whatever she'd changed, she said, it wasn't her values.
Let's be clear, my values have not changed.
She was asked about Donald Trump questioning her racial identity.
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please. I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself.
Kamala Harris has addressed the Middle East crisis at her party convention and elsewhere. Here, she addressed the suggestion of a change in US policy towards Israel.
Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done.
Donald Trump had one word for the interview on social media. He had more to say on stage.
But she was sitting behind that desk, this massive desk, and she didn't look like a leader to me, I'll be honest. I don't see her negotiating with President Xi of China.
Last night, the White House was lit in colour for the Paralympics. The same night, the contest intensified between Republican red and Democratic blue. It's easy to see why campaign managers for Kamala Harris are wary of potential hazards in the TV interview. They will balance the surge in her ratings against the uncertainty of the screened event. It won't be the last one to bear influence on this election campaign. She faces the small matter of a televised debate with Donald Trump on September the 10th.
All right, let's head to the United States. And joining me is senior advisor to former President Bill Clinton and Democratic strategist Nathan Daschle. Nathan, good morning, our time. Thanks for coming on the program. How did you think Kamala Harris went in the interview?
Look, she did three things that I thought were exactly what she needed to do. First, she didn't follow Donald Trump down the rat hole of race and gender. She subjugated race and gender to a message about middle-class economics. That was very important. Second, she tacked to the center. And that's exactly what she needs to do. She has the left sewn up. She comes from the left. She's championed the left. Now she needs to move to the center and show that she can actually represent those middle-of-the-road voters. And the third thing that she did in this debate is that she proved that she's still the candidate of change. And fundamentally, that is the most critical thing in this race, because voters in America still want change. And the question is, who's the incumbent? Is the incumbent a former president or a current vice president? And right now, she's winning that battle and making him the incumbent.
It's interesting. Donald Trump responded quickly with a post on social media saying boring. Many people who are students of politics over the years, whether it be here in Australia or in the United States, would say in many instances, boring is good.
Right. Boring is good. I mean, not so Trump has been new to American politics in that he supplanted intelligence and thoughtfulness with entertainment. And that's his recipe for good. His recipe for good is if you make a big splash and you create a lot of headlines. But that is not always what makes the best president. And I think Harris, I give her credit in that she's approached this in a much more thoughtful way. And she doesn't need to be exciting. It's just, well, I take that a little bit back. But she doesn't need to make headlines in her interviews. She needs to be exciting as a candidate, but her interviews should be thoughtful. They should be policy-based, and they should give voters an idea of what she wants to do for the next 4 years.
Donald Trump seems frustrated because he had a very choreographed attack plan for Joe Biden. It got thrown out, and they are scrambling to work out how their new attack plan works. And you can see the frustration. It's interesting to watch.
It is. So, I mean, I don't know why the United States runs presidential candidates campaigns for 2 years, but our campaigns for president last about 2 years. And for a year and a half, we've all known it was going to be Biden versus Trump. And so for a year and a half, voters have gotten used to that. And the reality is that voters didn't want either of those candidates. That's why there were so many double haters. And that's why RFK Jr. was up at 15% for a long time, because voters wanted some other alternative. And Harris, quite frankly, the best thing she has going for her is that she's not Biden or Trump.
She's still well behind in the sense of by the time you get to November 5, and we saw this with Hillary Clinton, if Kamala Harris is going to be the next US president, she needs to be well ahead, not just slightly ahead.
That's absolutely right, because Donald Trump will, on election night, he will perform 2 to 4 points better than he does in polls taken on the day before election day. So Harris has to account for that bump. Right now, however, I will tell you that it's been about a month since Joe Biden dropped out of the race. When Joe Biden was in the race, he was losing all 6 battleground states. Harris is now winning in 5 of the 6 battleground states. She's competitive in the 6th, which is Georgia. And amazingly, she's competitive in North Carolina, which I don't really consider a battleground state. But if she wins North Carolina, she wins the presidency.
Nathan, you worked very closely with Bill Clinton. You've been in this game a long time. Have you ever seen your country as divided as it is right now?
No, absolutely not. I've been in politics pretty much my whole life. Grew up in D.C., lived in D.C., I still am in D.C., and I've never seen anything like it. And what's amazing is that you can see it empirically. It's not just a feeling that we have. You can measure it empirically. And what I mean by that is that voters today don't split their ticket anymore. So back in the 1980s and 1990s, voters would vote for one party for president and another party for Senate. That doesn't happen anymore. Now voters vote for the same party for president, the same party for Senate, the same party for House, all the way down to mayor, because people are so polarized. And now it is a vote by team mentality instead of a vote by candidate mentality.
Let's make sure we talk a couple of times before November 5. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.